Welcome. Today, we embark on a journey to understand the vital connection between biodiversity and ecosystem services. Biodiversity, in its simplest form, refers to the variety of life on Earth, spanning genes, species, and entire ecosystems. This diversity is not just about the number of species, but also their abundance, composition, and the complex ways they interact. As we explore, you'll see how these living networks underpin the health of our planet and the well being of humanity. Let's begin by defining what biodiversity truly means and why it's so essential for life as we know it. Biodiversity encompasses the variety of living organisms, from the genetic differences within a species to the diversity of species in a community, and even the range of ecosystems across landscapes. It's not just about counting species, it's about understanding their roles, how they interact, and the unique functions they perform. This diversity is the foundation of ecosystem processes, influencing everything from nutrient cycling to food web dynamics. As we move forward, keep in mind that biodiversity operates on multiple levels, each contributing to the resilience and productivity of our natural world. Ecosystem processes are the interactions between living biotic and non-living abiotic components of the environment. These include the transfer of energy and materials such as photosynthesis, respiration, and decomposition. For example, plants transform solar energy into biomass, which then supports herbivores and predators. Decomposers break down organic matter, recycling nutrients back into the system. These processes are tightly linked to biodiversity as different species contribute in unique ways, ensuring the smooth functioning of ecosystems. Ecosystem resilience refers to the ability of an ecosystem to maintain its functions and structure despite environmental changes or disturbances. High biodiversity often means greater resilience, as a variety of species can fulfill similar roles, providing a buffer against shocks. For instance, if one pollinator species declines, others may step in to maintain pollination services. This redundancy ensures that ecosystems can recover from disturbances and continue to provide essential services to humans and wildlife alike. Ecosystem services are the benefits that humans derive from nature. These include provisioning services like food and water, regulating services such as climate and disease control, and cultural services like recreation and spiritual inspiration. These services are made possible by the intricate web of life within ecosystems. Without healthy biodiversity, the delivery of these services can be compromised, affecting human well-being on many levels. Visioning services are the tangible goods we obtain from ecosystems. Think of the food on your plate, the water you drink, the wood for your furniture, and the fibers in your clothing. These resources are finite, but many are renewable if managed sustainably. Agriculture, fisheries, and forestry all depend on the diversity of species and genetic resources. The loss of biodiversity can threaten the stability and productivity of these essential resources. Regulating services help maintain the conditions necessary for life. These include climate regulation, disease control, pollination, and soil fertility. For example, forests absorb carbon dioxide, helping to stabilize the climate, while wetlands filter water and reduce the impact of floods. Biodiversity plays a crucial role in these processes, as different species contribute to the regulation of pests, diseases, and nutrient cycle. Cultural services are the non-material benefits people gain from ecosystems. These include recreation, aesthetic enjoyment, spiritual fulfillment, and a sense of identity. Natural landscapes inspire art, provide spaces for relaxation, and hold cultural significance for many communities. The loss of biodiversity can diminish these experiences, impacting our mental and emotional well-being. Ecosystem service providers are the specific components of ecosystems, such as populations, communities, or habitats, that are necessary for delivering ecosystem services. For example, bees and other pollinators are essential for crop pollination, while soil microbes help decompose organic matter and recycle nutrients. Identifying these providers helps us understand which parts of biodiversity are most critical to protect for continued service delivery. Human well-being is deeply connected to the health of ecosystems. Access to food, clean water, energy, and shelter all depend on the services provided by nature. Beyond material needs, biodiversity supports good health, social connections, and cultural fulfillment. The Millennium Ecosystem Assessment highlights that human well-being is multidimensional, shaped by both objective conditions and personal capabilities. Relationship between species diversity and ecosystem functioning can take different shapes. Often it's asymptotic, meaning that losing a few species may have little effect at first, but further losses can lead to rapid declines in ecosystem services. Sometimes, the loss of a single keystone species can cause abrupt changes. Understanding these patterns helps guide conservation and management efforts. Biodiversity and ecosystem services operate across different spatial and temporal scales. Local scales might involve a single field or forest patch, while landscape and regional scales cover larger areas, including multiple habitats and communities. The scale of analysis matters because the distribution of biodiversity and the delivery of services can vary widely depending on the area and timeframe considered. Agricultural food production relies on a diverse array of crops, soil organisms, and pollinators. While modern agriculture often focuses on a few high-yield species, traditional systems maintain a broader diversity, which can enhance resilience and stability. Diverse cropping systems can reduce pest outbreaks, increase natural pest control, and improve adaptation to changing conditions. Biodiversity in agriculture is key to feeding a growing global population sustainably. Soil productive potential is regulated by a complex community of organisms, including bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and insects. These organisms enhance nutrient availability, decompose organic matter, and maintain soil structure. High biodiversity in soils supports long-term productivity and resilience, while intensive management practices can threaten this diversity and the services it provides. Pollination is a critical service provided by a variety of animals, especially bees, butterflies, birds, and bats. About 35% of global crop production depends on animal pollinators. Rich pollinator communities not only increase crop yields but also enhance resilience to environmental changes. However, pollinator populations are declining due to habitat loss, pesticides, and agricultural intensification, threatening food security worldwide. Biodiversity can influence the emergence and transmission of infectious diseases. In some cases, higher biodiversity reduces disease risk by diluting the presence of hosts or vectors, while in others, it may increase the pool of potential pathogens. Most evidence suggests that loss of species richness is linked to increased disease incidence, highlighting the importance of maintaining diverse ecosystems for public health. Functional diversity refers to the range of different biological traits within a community, such as leaf size, root depth, or feeding habits. This diversity influences how ecosystems function and how services are delivered. For example, a mix of deep and shallow-rooted plants can improve water uptake and soil stability. Functional diversity often matters as much as species richness for ecosystem health. Not all species contribute equally to ecosystem services. The identity and abundance of key species can have outsized effects. For instance, a dominant tree species may store most of the carbon in a forest, while a rare pollinator might be essential for a particular crop. Understanding which species are most important helps prioritize conservation efforts. Redundancy in ecosystems means that multiple species can perform similar functions. This provides a safety net. If one species is lost, others can step in to maintain ecosystem services. However, there are limits. Once too many species are lost, the system can reach a tipping point, leading to rapid declines in function. Maintaining redundancy is crucial for resilience. Most research on biodiversity and ecosystem services has focused on local scales, small plots, or experimental fields. These studies show that higher species richness leads to increased biomass production, better pest control, and greater stability in ecosystem processes. However, translating these findings to larger, real-world landscapes remains a challenge. At the landscape scale, the arrangement and diversity of habitats become important. Services like pollination and pest regulation often depend on mobile organisms that move across different habitats. Landscape complexity, such as a mix of forests, fields, and wetlands, supports higher biodiversity and more robust ecosystem services. Managing landscapes for diversity can enhance both productivity and resilience. Regional and global scales, the focus shifts to patterns of biodiversity and service provision across large areas. Spatial models help identify hotspots for both biodiversity and ecosystem services. However, these hotspots don't always overlap, meaning that areas rich in species may not always provide the most services and vice versa. This complexity requires careful planning to balance conservation and human needs. Human activities such as agriculture, urbanization, and deforestation are major drivers of biodiversity loss and changes in ecosystem services. Land use change can fragment habitats, reduce species richness, and alter the flow of services like water purification and pollination. Sustainable land management is essential to maintain both biodiversity and the benefits it provides. Advances in spatial modeling allow scientists to predict how changes in land use, climate, or management affect both biodiversity and ecosystem services. Tools like integrated valuation of ecosystem services and trade-offs, help map and quantify services across landscapes. These models inform decision-making by highlighting trade-offs and synergies between conservation and development. Managing ecosystems often involves trade-offs between different services. For example, maximizing crop yields might reduce habitat for pollinators or water quality. However, there are also opportunities for synergies, practices that enhance multiple services at once. Identifying and balancing these trade-offs is key to sustainable management. Different people and communities value ecosystem services in diverse ways. Farmers may prioritize soil fertility and crop yields, while urban residents might value clean air and recreation. Engaging stakeholders in decision-making ensures that management strategies reflect local needs and preferences, leading to more effective and equitable outcomes. Conservation efforts aim to protect both biodiversity and the ecosystem services it supports. Strategies include establishing protected areas, restoring degraded habitats, and promoting sustainable use of resources. Reserve selection algorithms and spatial planning tools help identify areas where conservation can maximize benefits for both nature and people. Agrobiodiversity refers to the variety and variability of living organisms that contribute to agriculture, including crops, livestock, soil organisms, and the knowledge associated with them. Maintaining agrobiodiversity enhances food security, resilience to pests and diseases, and adaptation to changing conditions. Traditional farming systems often harbor high levels of agrobiodiversity. Soil biota, including bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and insects, play essential roles in maintaining soil health and productivity. These organisms decompose organic matter, fix nitrogen, and improve soil structure. High soil biodiversity supports nutrient cycling, water retention, and resistance to erosion, all of which are vital for sustainable agriculture and forestry. Pollinator populations, especially bees, are declining worldwide due to habitat loss, pesticide use, and disease. This decline threatens not only wild plant reproduction but also global food production. Protecting pollinator habitats and reducing harmful practices are critical steps to safeguard this essential ecosystem service. Biodiversity can regulate infectious diseases through several mechanisms. by reducing the abundance of hosts or vectors, altering their behavior, or increasing the presence of natural enemies. For example, diverse bird communities can limit the spread of diseases like West Nile virus by diluting the pool of competent hosts. Functional traits such as body size, leaf area, or root depth determine how species contribute to ecosystem services. For instance, large trees with dense wood store more carbon while plants with deep roots stabilize soil. Understanding these traits helps predict how changes in biodiversity will affect service delivery. Keystone species are those whose impact on ecosystem function is disproportionately large relative to their abundance. The loss of a keystone species can trigger cascading effects, leading to rapid declines in ecosystem services. Protecting these species is a priority for maintaining ecosystem health. Ecosystems often provide multiple services simultaneously, but managing for one service can affect others. For example, increasing timber production might reduce water quality or biodiversity. Integrated management approaches seek to optimize multiple services, recognizing the complex interactions and trade-offs involved. Effective management of biodiversity and ecosystem services requires integrating ecological science with social perspectives. This means considering local knowledge, cultural values, and stakeholder priorities alongside scientific data. Collaborative approaches lead to more sustainable and accepted outcomes. Spatial modeling tools such as InVEST allow researchers and policymakers to visualize and quantify ecosystem services across landscapes. These tools use data on land cover, species traits, and human activities to predict where services are produced and how they might change under different scenarios. Research shows that areas with high biodiversity do not always coincide with areas that provide the most ecosystem services. This lack of spatial concordance means that conservation planning must consider both biodiversity and service provision to maximize benefits for nature and people. To achieve both biodiversity conservation and ecosystem service provision, management strategies must be flexible and adaptive. This involves monitoring outcomes, engaging stakeholders, and adjusting practices as new information becomes available. Win-win solutions are possible when multiple goals are considered from the start. Despite significant progress, many questions remain about the links between biodiversity and ecosystem services. More direct measurements, especially at landscape and regional scales, are needed. Understanding how changes in biodiversity affect human well-being is a key research frontier. Future research should focus on systematic comparisons across spatial scales, direct measurement of ecosystem services, and the integration of ecological and social data. Advances in technology and modeling will help address these challenges, supporting better decision-making for conservation and sustainable development. Policymakers play a crucial role in shaping the future of biodiversity and ecosystem services. Effective policies should be based on sound science, consider multiple services, and involve stakeholders at all levels. Incentives for sustainable practices and the protection of critical habitats are essential for long-term success. Raising awareness about the importance of biodiversity and ecosystem services is vital. Education programs, public campaigns, and community engagement can foster a deeper appreciation for nature and motivate action to protect it. Everyone has a role to play in sustaining the planet's life support systems. International efforts, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, aim to promote the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. These initiatives provide frameworks for cooperation, knowledge sharing, and coordinated action at global and regional levels. In summary, biodiversity is the foundation of ecosystem services that sustain human life and well-being. Protecting the variety of life on Earth ensures the continued delivery of food, clean water, climate regulation, and cultural inspiration. Ongoing research, effective management, and broad engagement are all needed to secure a sustainable future for people and nature. As we look to the future, the choices we make today will shape the health of ecosystems and the services they provide for generations to come. By valuing biodiversity and integrating it into our decisions, we can build a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable world for all.